beat for a while. I've had my business in the world of combat sports. I've had jobs. I've had hustles. I make my come and go flow is through the fight game. And there's the boxing side. There's things that I like. There's things that I don't like. There's the MMA side. There's things that I like, things that I don't like. But the one thing that's important, and I said this on the show early in the summer, is the fan appreciation and the fan satisfaction. Like, if John Jones was taken out of UFC 200, right? He was the headliner versus Daniel Cormier. DC was mad, and it kind of messed things up. Anderson Silva came in. The fans were happy. They were pissed off with Jones for a little bit, but once they announced that it was Anderson Silva, they said, okay, we got to fight. And after the fight, the fans were happy. They were happy coming and going. You go on social media, engagement, comments, likes, they were there. I could not imagine if there were a boxing match headlined by Andre Ward, and let's say Andre Ward got hurt, there would be no replacement against Kovalev. Let's say he's fighting Kovalev in November. Let's say they do all this lead up. Andre Ward, something happens, right? And he can't fight. What's HBO going to do? They're going to cancel the event because there's not that many fights on a boxing card for pay-per-view anyway. You might get 3 fights. You might get 4 fights. Boxing, it's always been a strategy. And I'll share this with you. On one side, you have your risks, and on the other side, you have your profitability, right? So every fighter and a manager, and I learned this, I'll give him props. I learned this from the New York State Commissioner, Randy Gordon, who worked with Don King, worked for Ring Magazine, worked with Dave DeBuscher. He worked with a lot of people. He has history. And one day he brought it out. He said, this is what promoters do. They look at how they can maximize the profits, and then they look at the opponents. They look at the highest level of risk versus the lowest level of risk, and then they look at the highest profitability versus the lowest level of profitability, right? Right. So now, if you're a Canelo Alvarez, right? Your highest level of risk would be against Triple G because you'd have to move up in weight. Triple G's a knockout artist. He has skill. He does have skill. He sparred him before, so he knows what he's going to get. And then also Triple G is your highest reward because in the boxing world, that's a fight that people want to see. It has the potential to cross over into the mainstream and draw some eyeballs and some dollars from people that don't normally watch boxing because the media tour for that will be crazy. But it's not going to happen. Not a few days, after they announced the Anderson Silva replacement in UFC 200, they announced that Triple G's opponent was going to be Kell Brook. Then they announced that Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting Liam Smith. Now, what the foolish part about this is that Canelo brought Triple G in the ring after he knocked out Amir Khan, who's like a natural 143-pound guy, and he said, I got the balls of a Mexican. I'll take on Triple G anytime. Well, it's anytime. And then now Oscar De La Hoya the other day says, oh, we're not going to have it September 2017. We're going to wait till Canelo Alvarez is ready. No, nobody got no time for that bullshit. Nobody want to wait for that bullshit. Boxing, no one has the patience. The media cycles now go very, very quickly. You can be forgotten. You can be left behind. As evidence of that, if you don't give the fans what they want, they'll go and find it elsewhere. Kind of like drugs. If your dealer leaves, they're going to find somebody. He might have some stuff that might have been stepped on 2, 3, 4 times, but it's going to be something for them to get their high, to get their get right. And boxing, the violence, the pageantry, the characters, the drama, it used to give us that, in an authentic way. Outside of that, in a playful manner, was wrestling. But even wrestling had those moments like when they broke Dusty, when the Four Horsemen broke Dusty Rhodes on. You remember that? You wrestling fan? You remember that? Everybody remember when the Four Horsemen jumped Dusty Rhodes. It used to give us that. Boxing, it's not there anymore. And now some people blame Floyd Mayweather. They say, oh, Floyd, he started this thing where it's all about money. Listen, when you fight, you don't have there's no retirement plan for somebody that's all sold out for the fight game. Floyd, no matter what you say, when he fought, who he fought, how he fought, who he fought, whatever. At the end of the day, the result was a win. And with each win, he built up the leverage to command what he wanted to take. He saw his profitability. Bob Arum didn't see the potential in Floyd because he let him go. Floyd bought out his contract. Floyd invested in himself. He took the risk. That's a huge risk. That's a huge risk to take yourself out of a contractual obligation to top-ranked boxing, which is fucking top-ranked boxing. You know? He invested in himself, and he felt that this is what he's worth. His team, they worked to build his brand. He built his brand. He kept winning. He created his gimmick, his character, the Money Mayweather persona, you know, and he worked hard to deserve that. Fighters look at Floyd and they say, you know what? I want to be like Floyd. I want to do what Floyd's doing. He changed the game. But guess what, young fighters? He worked for it. He earned that right. He created the opportunity. A lot of young fighters now, they feel self-entitled. They feel that they are entitled to command leverage, to fight the different fighters. Now, granted, in terms of your boxing career, your first 10 fights, you just want to get confidence. And then that's what promoters do, because you're an investment to the promoter. He wants to make sure you got your confidence, you got your tools of the trade, you got those things. Your next from fight 11 to 15, they step you up in competition a little bit just to test the waters to see if you can hang, you know. And this is the trajectory of a boxer's career. Then from fight 16 to 20, it's like, okay, we're going to move up to, you know, a world-class level of fighting. You know, not the elite level yet, but the world-class fighting. And then once you get 20-0, 20-1, 22-1, 23-1, that's when they throw you to the wolves, they throw you to the lions, and then the best fights happen. Sometimes with certain fighters, it takes a long time. Canelo Alvarez is like in his mid-20s. He already had 40-something fights. He's been fighting since he was 13, 14. So, you know, his trajectory, a little bit different. You know, you got some guys now that are 18-0, haven't really fought anybody, 22-0, haven't really fought anybody. And when I say by anybody, I'm talking about on the world-class level. You don't need to fight the world-class level and the elite level yet, because you got to figure these things out. The last fight on an even plane that I could think of that we had was the Keith Thurman versus Sean Porter fight. I like Keith Thurman. I like Sean Porter. I really like Sean Porter because he won me some money when he beat Devin Alexander. I tell him that every time I see him. Thank you very much, Sean. You know, Marcus Brown, Eddie Gomez, you know, Danny Garcia is cool. You know, I think he's a cool character. I just think they need to put him in there with a higher level of competition. I think it's time for him to step up. Adrian Broner, you know, he's a talented guy. I think the people around him can do better to serve his brand than what he's doing for himself. You know, from a career standpoint, personality-wise, I've only seen the guy a few times, never had a conversation with him, so I can't judge who he is. But I thought that he would be the key to usher in like this new talent. It didn't work out. The baton wasn't passed. And every generation, you have to pass the baton. You know, listen. Conor McGregor, Irish, came over here, built himself up, fought Nate Diaz, knocked out Jose Aldo. He's everywhere. WWE has Finn Balor. He just won the WWE World Universal title. He was on Good Morning America channel, so he did the media rounds. He's Irish. He got injured, but he was everywhere. Carl Frampton, Irish. If I'm not mistaken, I think I don't know, Dublin? I can't remember where he's from. Carl Frampton. He beat Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz is a world-class elite fighter with a resplendent record. He was upset by Carl Frampton. You know where I saw Carl Frampton after that fight? Nowhere. Promotional-wise, if this were the early 90s, 80s, and if it were the 70s, you'd see Carl Frampton everywhere. The media outlets have not. After Floyd and Pacquiao, they said, that's it. We don't think the fans are going to respond to this sport the way that they once did because UFC's around now. And UFC is giving you more bang for your buck. You buy a $60 pay-per-view, you're getting 5 fights. You buy a $60 boxing pay-per-view, you're getting 2-3 fights. And in 2 of those 3 fights, you don't know who, there's no character attachment. Why? Because a lot of the boxers, a lot of them, not for nothing, this particular class in this era, These have to be like the least charismatic boxers that I've ever seen. Back in the day, you think about Pernell Whitaker, and I'm not a back in the day guy. I'm not a dude that I don't like to look in the past. I like to look at now, and I like to look at the future. But you got to sometimes look at history and cross compare. And I swear, this generation, these have to be the least charismatic cluster of boxers that I've ever seen. And now, I don't know if it's them, they're shy. I don't know if their promoters tell them to be quiet. I don't know if, I don't know if the media, I don't know if the media is asking the right questions to bring out their personality, because a lot of it has to do with the media. People in this arena, Howard Cosell brought out the best in Muhammad Ali. There are different writers, different journalists that bring out certain things, from the fighters when they're not giving it to them. And now we live in I hate that there's the blog level, and then there are certified bona fide journalists. If you don't pay your internet bill or your phone bill and your blog goes off, whatever, you're done. That's it. You got to figure out another way to get to the public. If you're a radio station, you write for a newspaper or magazine, if you don't pay those bills, you still got a job. And for you to keep that job, you have to maintain certain standards. And for you to maintain those standards, you have to go through some training, if it's not a nepotism situation. And I think that we don't have the proper grooming of journalists and the least charismatic motherfucking fighters ever. I'm going to look up this guy's name. His first name is Livingston, right? I think it's Livingston. Is it Livingston Bramble? Let me see. Livingston Bramble. Livingston Bramble. There we go. Livingston Bramble. See, now mind you, Livingston Bramble, he wasn't the crazy, he wasn't Sugar Ray Leonard, right? But this guy was, when you got him in an interview or you met him in person, you would want to see him fight just from talking to him. I remember this guy, I saw a feature on him and when I was a kid, and the guy, he used to walk around and used to jog with a snake. Like Jake the Snake from WWE. He was a boxer that did it. That's personality. That's something that I couldn't remember his last name. I remember his first name, couldn't remember his last name, But he had something that compelled you to want to watch him fight. Another guy, Emmanuel Augustus. The road warrior. Not the, he doesn't have a 50-1 record or anything like that. But if you talk to the hardcore boxing fan, you say Emmanuel Augustus, they know who you're talking about. His videos on YouTube, younger people found his videos. They started to remix him and everything. And, he charismatic in the ring. I don't expect everyone to have both, to be able to talk on the mic and to be able to fight well. It's very rare. You get spoiled by, Mike Tyson gives you sound bites. Muhammad Ali, well, that's just, that's breaking the mold. Sugar Ray Leonard, Roy Jones Jr., Tommy Hearns, Hagler, the best fought the best. They didn't care about that whole risk and reward bullshit. They were like, who's the best guy? I'm going to fight. We going to figure it out later. Boxing used to be war over business. Now it's business over war. And the fans don't like it. The fans are trying to find another fix, because those bloggers, the journalists, the writers, the aficionados, what I saw on their feeds, on my Instagram feed and the other feeds, they said, and the overall sentiment was, damn, I remember when boxing used to have fights like this, referencing Diaz versus McGregor. You're only nostalgic for what no longer is. And if what no longer is, and it is not what it was, then you, my friend, have something that's gone. And don't ask me to say it twice, because that came off the top of the dome, Dave, okay? But you get the point, right? It's gone. Boxing, there's no one to pass the baton to. These guys, one guy, a buddy of mine told me, he said, oh, if I fight this guy, they got to pay me more money because the amount of damage I'm going to take, I'm not going to take that unless I get whatever. That's the equivalent, and I got to use this, my boy Cisco. He said that's the equivalent of a guy signing up to work for the fire department. There's a 4-alarm blaze, and he tells his chief right in front of the fire, well, you know what? I'm not going to put out this fire unless you give me a little bit of extra money. But what I'm going to do is that garbage truck dumpster fire over there, I'm going to go do, you take care of the 4-alarm blaze. I'm going to do that, you know, that raw Salka fire over there because, you know, I'm going to put that out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You signed up for it, bro. This is what we pay you for. We pay to see you do your thing. We pay to see you do your thing against the best. You know, and somebody's like, oh, well, you know, fans don't know. Nah, fans got your money. Fans pay, so fans can critique. You know, and I got a little problem with a lot of the journalists and everything. I understand being cool, but I also understand being professional. Some of y'all out there, y'all a little too buddy with these fighters, man. And y'all get a little too personal. Now, if it's your personal time, it's your personal time. That's what you do. That's how you get down. That's how you get your leads. I ain't got no problem with that. But if you see them pulling some bullshit, you know, and you see them hold their feet to the fire. That's what this game is about. You know, when it's professional, look, if we playing ball, we playing football, basketball, we playing hockey, and it's go time, and the ref got the whistle, you know, ain't no friends. I got a job to do. My job is to win. If I'm covering this sport or you covering this sport, your job is to get the best information out there, the most accurate information out there, you know, for the fans, for the people that subscribe to you. Because if you hold them accountable and you see that your sport is damn near on life support, look, the Olympic judges can't get boxing right. The promoters can't get boxing right. TV don't want to spend no more money on it. Boxing is turned into an ESPN 8 affair. Like, who got ESPN 8? You got ESPN 8, Dave? I don't got ESPN 8. But you know what? That's where it need to be, because nobody want to watch the bullshit that's being put out there. And I know I'm a little bit emotional about this. I usually don't get like this. You know, I'm usually calm and cool. But it's just that you grow up with something and you see it slowly die. And it's like, damn, you could do so much better. UFC made $4 billion. PBC's losing money. New York State raises the price on insurance for fighters. Mid-level promoters can't put on fights in New York. If you can't put on key marquee fights, developmental fights, showcase fights in New York, what does that say for the sport? What does that say for the future? There is no future unless you turn this ship around. Now, boxing is not the Titanic. It hasn't hit the iceberg yet. But if you want to be on ESPN Ocho, keep doing what you're doing, and UFC is just going to take all those young fight fans that want that action and excitement and be in the place to be. Although they might not be paid as much, you know, sometimes for other people, it's a little bit more than money. It's about the glory, and it's about the challenge, and it's about the sportsmanship, and boxing needs to bring that back. I don't think it comes back till 2020. Brotivation Sports Radio, 1340. Champ Creed, we'll be back after these